Yesterday in the Senate was Seersucker Thursday. I'm just warning you about that so you don't get alarmed when I show you a clip from what happened yesterday in the Senate. Here's the scene. It is Seersucker Thursday in the Senate. Republicans have already been blocking a vote on a package of unemployment and state aid benefits for weeks. But finally, Democrats think they have the 60 votes they need to get the bill past the Republican filibuster. Turns out they don't. In fact, they only have 56. Democrat Ben Nelson of Nebraska and Joe Lieberman of Connecticut vote with Republicans to continue filibustering a vote on unemployment and emergency state aid. But then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid takes to the floor with a handful of very popular, badly needed pieces of the bill, including the extension on unemployment benefits, in an attempt to try to get something passed, or at least voted on before the night's end. On hand to object in a terrifying seersucker suit was Republican Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, looking as if he's on his way to a garden party via horse-drawn buggy to discuss the cut of President Chester A. Arthur's jib.
For the moment, I object. Yeah, we just got this a few moments ago. For the moment, I object. For today, I object. Mr. President, we're still working together on a bipartisan basis to try to figure out how to go forward on all of these items, but for the moment, I object.
While the nation faces the highest rate of long-term unemployment since the 1930s, unless Ben Nelson and Joe Lieberman and all the Republicans let this extension bill pass, more than 1 million unemployed Americans will see their benefits run out by the end of the month. It does all seem a lot cheerier in Seersucker, though, don't you think? Joining us now is Senator Debbie Stabenow, Democrat of Michigan. Senator, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's nice to see you.
It's great to be with you.
Is there a new strategy for getting this extension passed before the end of the month? With the stakes are so high, 1 million people potentially losing unemployment.
Well, Rachel, first let me say on behalf of 1 million people in Michigan and over 15 million people around the country, I'm outraged about this. You know, as you know, this has been a ping pong. People have been used as pawns in a political fight now for the last year and a half. Real people trying to put food on the table and keep a roof over their head. And I've had it. This is really outrageous. We are going to do a couple of things next week. There's one more time. They are indicating that they're willing to put together this broader bill. But if not, we have to move ahead and vote on extending unemployment benefits. And in my judgment, we need to do that separately. And I think that everyone watching your program, everyone who's touched by this or cares about Americans in this country who want to work but can't find a job ought to be flooding phone lines and emails to express outrage about what is happening. This has happened over and over again in the last year and a half since President Obama and the Democrats took the majority. And too many people in my state are on a roller coaster now, every single day, emotionally trying to figure out what's going on. And a lot of them are going to school. You know, they're going to school, they're living off of unemployment benefits just to keep a roof over their head and take care of their families, and they're emailing me saying, now what do I do? You know, I'm trying to go back to school, you told me to go back to school. I'm doing that, but I need a little bit more help to be able to get this done so I can go out and try to find a new profession.
Senator, in terms of the tactics here, last fall when Republicans were holding up an unemployment extension package they were doing it by adding unrelated amendments to it.
Right.
You said at the time that delays like that had become a tactic for Republicans.
It has.
I expect that it will be part of the way they continue to object to this. How do you fight that tactic?
We're going to have to slog our way through it like we did last fall. It took us a month to get through that, with objection after objection. And by the way, there are up to 234 objections and filibusters, which is unheard of in the history of our country. It took us a month. And here's the bad part, though. Here's the cynical part that makes me so angry. It took a month last fall to slog through this, and then almost every Republican voted for the bill. They were holding it up to try to stop health care at the time. Now they're just trying to hold it up to stop us from getting a broader jobs bill done, which, by the way, has a provision to stop incentives for taking jobs overseas. And it also has a provision that would raise additional money from oil companies for the oil spill liability trust fund. So I find it interesting when the congressman from Texas was apologizing to BP yesterday, his Republican colleagues in the Senate were protecting big oil and stopping a 47-cent fee on every barrel of oil, which is $70 or $80, to be able to put into a liability fund to clean up the mess.
Senator, the Republicans who have objected to this, when they make their case in public, say that they just don't want any more spending, that the deficit is too high, that government spending is out of control, and that they just want some fiscal discipline. That's why they're saying no to things like this. What's your response to that argument?
Rachel, a couple of things. First of all, I don't think we should take seriously a lecture from the people that created this deficit, trying to now lecture us about deficits, number one. Number two, we're never going to get out of deficit if we have more than 15 million people out of work in this country. The way to get out of deficit is to put people back to work, is to have people contributing to the economy, contributing to the tax base, buying things as consumers. And the final thing I would say is what I said to a Republican colleague on the floor yesterday. Will they have that same test when they bring to the floor another big tax cut for the estate tax for a few hundred families in this country? They're going to bring an estate tax cut for a few hundred families, and I bet they don't care if that's paid for. But when it's people that are out of work in this country, working class people, middle class people, breadwinners who can't bring home any bread right now, suddenly the rules change. If there was ever a disaster in this country, and that's how we pay for this, with disaster assistance, I consider 15 million people out of work a disaster.
Senator Debbie Stabenow, Democrat of Michigan, thank you so much for your time tonight.
My pleasure.
And obviously this is a real passion for you. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks.
We live in a time when the whole world can watch World Cup soccer simultaneously. Half can complain that the sound of those plastic trumpets that everybody blows during World Cup matches is deafening. And we live in a time when, through advanced audio frequency geekery, someone can figure out how to reduce or eliminate that specific sound from your TV machine. A moment of geek, including a homemade demonstration, next.
When you mean Second Amendment remedies.
So, thank you.
Second Amendment remedies, anything? We kept asking into the parking lot, but received no answer. Why won't you answer what Second Amendment remedies means? Nothing at all. It's a simple question.
Sharon Angle accidentally meets a real reporter. It does not go well. Footage ahead.